episode 163, Telomere Testing and Bioelectric Chemistry. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Trost-Clare, and today we'll hear Dr. Darrell Misak's perspective. Join 2017 and 18 Podcast Awards nominated host and best-selling author on Amazon as we get a behind-the-curtain look at all types of doctor and guest specialties. Let's hear a doctor's perspective. Thanks for tuning in. It's October. I hope you're prepared for the second wave. Or maybe it's Halloween. Who knows? Go vote if you haven't voted in America. It's important. Before we jump in, here's a word from today's sponsor, which is really cool because at the end you can get free medical terminology PDF in Spanish. Today's episode is sponsored by a podcast I discovered recently. As you know, I'm learning new languages, and I'm sure you have tried probably Spanish. And you might have found it too daunting or too boring. But if you do want to learn Spanish more effectively and connect with your Spanish-speaking patients and staff, you need to check out Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. Every week, the host Tamara Marie brings you one step closer to fluency by making language learning fun and effortless. Learn Spanish con Salsa immerses you in Latino culture and teaches Spanish through music and conversation. Delete all those boring robotic language learning apps, you know the ones, and listen to authentic Spanish you can use in conversations with real people. Subscribe to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And for the show, you can get a free guide to Spanish for medical professionals at SpanishConSalsa.com/doctor. It'll be in the show notes. That's SpanishConSalsa.com/doctor to get a free guide to Spanish for medical professionals. All right, thanks again. So today we're going to discuss what is a bioelectric spectrum of health. Our guest is a pharmacist and a naturopath, and we're going to dive into things about live and dry blood analysis and urine and saliva testing and how that can be used to change your diet so that you can change your health from the inside. He also has a product that he created called Vitalometry. And if you use the code Justin, you can actually save 10% on an order. And we'll talk about things like the 5 phases to reclaim your health. What are telomeres and telemeres? What can we do about it? We want to keep those as healthy as possible. And overall, just, an interesting interview. And I think you're going to get something from it. So that's awesome. If you didn't know, all the books that the guests have recommended, all 163 episodes or more. There was once a time when I had it on an Amazon page, and then Amazon did away with those types of pages and then came out with something new, but unfortunately, they didn't get transferred. So now, anyway, it's back. You can go to doctorsperspective.net/book list, and you can see all the books that they've recommended, and this covers everything from mental health, biomechanics, marketing, self-help, even and lots of relationship books as well. So definitely going to be a treasure trove of things if you're looking for something to read. And of course, it's an affiliate link. Secondly, the one-sheets, one-page PDF written concisely and in a pretty format so that you can appeal to a podcast host, to a medical doctor, or any kind of doctor that you for referrals to get. How do you fit in and appeal to their audience? Because that's what they're concerned about, their audience, their patient. So it's written in that angle. You can go to doctorsperspective.net/one-sheet, and you can see the different testimonials that people have written about the work that I've done. One guy booked a podcast and 2 keynotes within 24 hours of emailing this to potential speaking gigs. So that's exactly what it's built for. Enough of that. Let's jump into Dr. Misak's interview. All the show notes and transcript can be found at doctorsperspective.net/163. Write a review. Let's go. #behind the curtain. Live from Germany in Pittsburgh. Today on the show, we got a naturopath and a pharmacist. I know those two things kind of sound crazy together, but trust me, you're going to enjoy this show, okay? And we're going to talk about things like telomeres because it's kind of a, I don't want to call it, it's kind of new. Sometimes there's technology that's out there and they can test it. And then what does it mean for your health and what can we do about it? So I'm excited to learn more about that. Analytic versus chemical and biological testing. All these kind of things that I don't know a lot about, to be quite honest. And so I'm excited to pick your brain, Dr. Darrell Misak. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Oh, I'm looking behind you, and those don't look like statins and antidepressants all over your shelf. I will say that.
No, that's my mixing area for all my herbs. There's a little rife machine right over here to the left. I got a multi-wave oscillator over here. I get into some the aspects of helping people understand a bioelectric concept that goes back to Tesla, that if you need to understand the concepts of the universe, you have to think in the terms of frequency and vibration. So I help people understand health from a quantum perspective.
Now, is that weird for your profession as a pharmacy? Were you pharmacist first or naturopath first?
Yeah, I was a pharmacist first. I went to West Virginia University, and then I worked at Duke Medical Center as a clinical pharmacist. And I basically saw that what you're doing is, trying to do what's most cost effective, and what drugs can try to help the person feel better doesn't necessarily mean that you're curing them of anything. And I work with oncology, cancer patients, general medicine. I watched a lot of people die. And I started asking questions. Why can't we give these people who are biochemically breaking down nutrients, IV vitamin C, IV B vitamins, and stuff that I knew that was available from a pharmacy perspective, but why is it not used clinically? And it was just, they gave me a runaround. They're like, well, there's really no research. And that was before I had my 5 kids, and I went to pull research to say, look, here's studies showing that these vitamins are beneficial in cancer states. Here's studies showing vitamin C beneficial. And they're like, well, that's been refuted. Never saw anything refuting true research. And it just led me down to this aspect of understanding how things work, that I turned around and went to naturopathic school for 4 years, became a naturopathic doctor out at what used to be called National College of Naturopathic Medicine, now called National University of Natural Medicine out in Portland, Oregon. And then I practiced compounding pharmacy while I was there to help me put myself through school. So I get to make, and learning how to make all those natural hormones and how to combine the best of both worlds. And then ended up back in Pittsburgh. My wife grew up just over an hour away from here. And so we raised our family here. And I've always been one of these people of how do things work. The more that I dove down, it just led me down this rabbit hole, down to even the thinking about Tesla and Einstein and energy perspective of quantum. And I learned about Dr. Carrie Reams and the aspects of an energy perspective of how to understand the human body. So I've written articles in Naturopathic Doctor News and Review, and just trying to teach this aspect of understanding how you can test and analyze somebody to know what do they need from a basic mineral, basic vitamin standpoint, and then naturopathically learning how to test people for burdens, food, chemical sensitivities, looking at people's blood and looking at the health of the blood to understand whether they're carrying oxygen or showing signs of deficiency. So I've done this real analytical perspective that helps break things down to what people need and what they don't or what they need to get away from, showing them a diet, basic mineral approach, and just watching miracles happen in reality is what I've learned in the process.
Are you able to you take real blood, these like real blood tests that other doctors could order perhaps, and then you're able to interpret them, or do you send them off to a lab and like you use like some company that does everything?
If people are doing your blood will cannibalize every cell of the body to be as healthy as you can be. Your blood is your life. It's what brings the nutrients, brings the oxygen to every cell. And if your blood is already showing degradation, something's already breaking down. So when you're looking at if your liver function tests are elevated, they're elevated because you have breakdown in the liver. You know what I mean? And so what I do is a single drop of blood and look at the live cells on a television screen. We put it under a microscope, we blow it up, it's called live blood microscopy, and it's educational. So we look at the size of the cells, we look at the ratio of your white blood cells, we look at whether you have destructive patterns, whether you have agglutination patterns, whether you have activation of certain white blood cells, whether you have signs of deterioration in your blood, and it gives me like a real life picture of where you are. But more importantly, when I test people's chemistry in their urine and their saliva, I look at sugars, pH, I look at conductivity, the ability of energy to move from point A to point B, which gives me an idea of salt concentrations and thickness of body fluids. I look at cell debris. How well is your body getting rid of its waste? I look at nitrates, which give us nitrates give us an idea of protein building capacity for building healthy cells, or ammonia nitrates are urea waste that tell me whether the body's in a destructive pattern and not digesting your foods or you're breaking down. So I could turn around and look at the chemistry and say whether you're gaining energy, losing energy, if there's an inefficiency pattern, and what nutrients or what stressors you could be doing that could be driving those patterns. Because if we have an ideal of what the chemistry efficiency is supposed to be, where each variable is away from an ideal, it points to a deficiency or an excess. So you can break health down to deficiencies or excesses. So if you have an excess, which could be a toxin per se, then if your body can't handle that toxin, it's because there was probably some deficiency or some other excess that's preventing your body from being able to be efficient. So I'm looking at energy efficiency on where the burdens are. Let's remove the burdens. Let's feed the body with what it needs, and we watch the body self-restore, because that's the whole principle of what naturopathic medicine teaches of the vis medicatrix naturae, the healing power of nature. Healing's already inside of you. But if you're consuming more energy than what you're gaining, then something's got to give, and you can even see DNA restore and repair. Go look up solfeggio frequencies and 528 hertz, and you'll be like, oh my God, it's been shown to improve how DNA can express itself, So everything is frequency and vibration. And what I'm trying to do is find the frequency ideal of your diet and say, this is the way you need to eat, and this is what you need to stay away from, because these are negative energy foods. They're depleting you. And this is how we purify. This is what your liver needs. You got to have calcium. You have to have iodine. You have to have trace amount of iron. You have to have vitamin A. You have to have oxygen. You have to have pure water. So let's give the body what it needs to energetically restore itself. And so I teach these energy concepts and how to measure yourself. I do YouTube shows on Doc Misak, DocMisak is my YouTube channel, docmisak.com. I've got articles that are there that you can learn about. But I use this pharmacy and this naturopathic perspective. And that's where you were asking about telomeres and how the body anti-ages, and that's where that product, I started a company called Vitalometry, and we can talk about that. I mean, there's so many things that we could talk about. It's just a matter of where do you think your audience would be most interested?
Yeah, because we're going to be a bunch of chiropractors and physical therapy people who, dentists, so mostly professionals. So when you're doing all this blood work, are we looking at like micronutrients, things that we, the building blocks? Or are we talking more of, because naturopaths can look at all these different herbs and these,
right,
this weed or this root and this kind of stuff where we're just like, I don't know. I didn't go to Chinese medicine school to learn what all these things do. So what do you think?
I break it down to the essentials of what we are. Okay. Einstein says energy is the same thing as matter. E equals mc squared. Well, energy is heat and electricity. Well, how do we generate heat and electricity? Our liver is basically like a nuclear power plant. So you take in food, and that food gets broken down, disintegrated, absorbed into the bloodstream, goes directly to the liver, and the liver says, hey, I can use you, or you're a waste product. So it's deciding what the body can use from it. Can we generate energy from this, or does it become a burden,
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're doing is you're looking at the efficiency of the body's ability. When we look at the blood, I'm looking at a picture of the health of the stress of the body by looking at live blood and dry blood patterns called HLB analysis. Also, some people call it the oxidative stress test. Some people, there's various aspects of looking at dry blood analysis. Live blood is telling me a picture of the overall ability of the body, that blood, to carry the nutrients where it needs to be. It's that urine and saliva that's telling me the most. It's telling me energy efficiency. Is the liver stressed? Is my bile strong enough? Is the is my sugar regulation maximizing my available oxygen potential so that I can get oxygen where it's needed to be? Is the efficiency, or is things running too fast or too slow to where I can pull nutrients out? So if I teach people how to basically test their urine and saliva and get an understanding, any health practitioner can do this. And I would encourage, go to Doc Misak, look at the article that I wrote in Naturopathic Doctor News and Review that explained bioelectrochemistry and explain a case report, where if you look at the chemistry, you know if somebody's going to have a thyroid disorder, you know if somebody's going to be anemic, you know if somebody is going to, say, have elevated liver function tests, because the chemistry dictates what happens on a cellular level. So I turn around and can help people understand a diet that's appropriate and how to test. If you measure your urine pH, you literally can determine what foods are best for you, or when you're eating foods that are bad for you, because your urine pH will dive and your brix or your sugar level will spike. And you're like, oh my God, this food's horrible for me and I'm getting cell destruction.
Does it vary on the person? Like, this person might want to be more acidic, or this person might need to be more alkaline?
There's an ideal. We call it the perfect equation. So at a brix of 1.5, your pH is of 6.4 over 6.4 urine and saliva. Conductivity is a 1 to 4.5 ratio. It should be 6.5. And we have a healing range. And then your cell debris should be about 40,000 particles. But when you're healing, you should have about 4 million particles. And then and we teach how to test this. Your nitrates should be 3 over 3, but when you're healing, should be like 10 to 12 over about 5 to 7. So because you need to build healthy protein while your body's eliminating the waste. And so we call what's called the healing ranges. And there's ranges where your chemistry falls into that says what you need to eat, what you need to, and give an idea of when you're deficient in specific vitamins or nutrients to support the chemistry. So the idea is that you give the body the support it needs, not just try to fix it by taking more of a particular vitamin or nutrient.
So it's not just about. So as a chiropractor, we have a bunch of less than ideal people in our profession sometimes that are doing like, is your arm strong? Okay.
Muscle test.
Yeah. Here's some pills, and then you test it, and we're just like, come on, guys.
I give validity to muscle testing, but muscle testing is saying, hey, energetically, this is causing you're weak with regards to this, and whether they're thinking it or speaking it out, you're putting out vibrations and you're testing a muscle response to it. That's like electrodermal testing, EAV, which is done quite often in Germany by a lot of practitioners for finding measurable electrical imbalances. And so muscle testing can turn around and say, hey, you're weak, and this product actually strengthens you, but it doesn't tell why you're weak.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas where I'm looking at the chemistry, I'm finding specific deficiencies, and I'm looking at the blood, I'm looking for specific patterns analytically that you can't deny, where muscle testing is subjective. I'm looking at objective data.
Yeah, because I don't like the muscle testing stuff because it's too woo-woo out there. And sometimes naturopaths. That's why I was curious because I'm not trying to step on toes. But there's a lot of naturopaths out there that are like, take these essential oils and you'll be good for everything. And you're like, maybe not. Maybe not. Or you leave with 3 bags full of vitamins, and you're like, well, I need all of this stuff for how long?
Right.
Is there some sort of blood test for later?
So from an analytical perspective, I'm trying to find – so I came up with a concept called 5 phases. Phase 1, clean up your environment, pure air, pure food, pure water, electromagnetic field protection. Stop eating the imbalanced things that stay away from genetically modified foods. Wash all your foods, get all the residues off of them. You know what I mean? Just teach a basic aspect of clean up your environment. Phase 2 is get tested for what your specific stressors are. Are you toxic in metals? Are you toxic in some type of environmental aspect? Are you eating food sensitivities that are causing negative energy responses? Let's clean up your stressors. Phase 3 is support. Not like take everything known to mankind that's beneficial for your diagnosed disease, but what can I identify that specifically your body is showing need of? That's where I'm using a chemistry perspective, because the chemistry dictates the energy, which dictates what happens on a cellular response. So if you clean up your environment, lower your personal load, give your body the support that it needs, you raise your threshold, and then your body finally is generating more energy than what you're consuming. So you naturally start to detoxify. Your body's like, why am I holding all this crap? So detoxification is part of a health process. not just go to some spa and do colonics and sauna and foot baths. I have all that stuff. I have a hyperbaric chamber. It's good to support detoxification, but your healing is not just in detoxification. It's by identifying what your personal stressors are, giving your body what it needs, and watching your body go through a process. I teach a process, not a product, right? And then phase 5 is self-awareness. So when you start lowering your threshold to where something's still going on, I'm recognizing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so how do I analytically determine what's still going on with me? But let me tell you, mind, body medicine, meditation, prayer, mind over matter is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So finding your sense of peace and awareness is so you apply that approach. While you're analytically testing the urine, the saliva, anybody can do this out of their home. Anybody. And if you learn to understand the basics, which I'm teaching people for free because everybody should know this. I want to equip you to be healthy. And then when you start testing and you start learning what these variables mean by being away from the ideal, it tells you I'm eating the wrong foods. My liver is depleted. What typically is needed? I teach you what typically is needed. Yes, you can use herbs, you can use nutrients, you can use homeopathy, but what you can do is measure your response to these things. So what seemingly might be really good, hey, go get some IV vitamin C in a Myers cocktail, right? But what if I can measure and show you that that's bad for you by showing your chemistry can't handle it? That's what I'm doing. And I'm making that available to anybody. But when we talk about telomeres, I turned around and took this approach, and I learned about in 2009. If you go look, the Nobel Prize in Medicine was won by these 3 physiologists that discovered the enzyme telomerase, because telomeres have been studied for about over 20 plus years, and they show that as telomeres shorten on the end of our DNA, a natural aging process comes, and telomeres are dictating cell turnover and dictating how your body is giving that DNA blueprint for building healthy cells. And so if telomeres shorten, you age. And so in 2009, these 3 physiologists discovered that if you can stimulate the enzyme telomerase, that you anti-age, that your telomeres stay long, and that therefore they had these mice that were prematurely aged to about 90 years of age, kidney failure, cataracts, arthritic complaints, gray. Their brains they showed senile dementia, and they stimulated this enzyme, and all of a sudden they went back to dark hair, their arthritis went away, their cataracts cleared up, their kidney failure went away, and their brains grew 25%. Totally reverse aged these mice. And so I turned around in 2014, learned about this. I'm like, oh my God, how do you stimulate telomerase activity? So I did this Google mesh thing and looked at about 200 abstracts and found that there's all these natural substances because that stimulate telomerase activity. Milk thistle stimulates telomerase activity. Green tea and ellagic acids, those polyphenols and antioxidants stimulate telomerase activity. Ginkgo stimulates telomerase activity. So I found these herbs that stimulate telomerase activity, but I came about it from, instead of creating this antioxidant basic multivitamin, because there's been these basic nutrients that have been shown that help telomerase activity, and I formulated a product that I call Vitalometry. And if you go to that Darrell Misak, you'll see links to Vitalometry. We ship it worldwide. But I came about it from an herbal standpoint of these herbs that show telomerase activity with the twist of this bioelectric nature, right? So I put herbs in there. Astragalus has been shown to have the most telomere affecting, and 2 of the constituents of astragalus called cycloastragalonol and astragaloside 4, astragaloside IV. These have been shown to specifically enhance telomerase activity, and certain products have been shown out there on that nature. And then I turned around and said, okay, milk thistle stimulates and supports the liver to process things, has telomerase activity. Sinomorium is this yang tonic. It's sexual vitality yang tonic in Chinese medicine. Strong telomerase activity, but it gives you energy without making you feel like you're this, and it increases sexual vitality. It's known as a sexual vitality youth of elixir in Chinese medicine. Again, green tea, polyphenols, Resveratrol. I put elderberry in it because resveratrol stimulates telomerase activity, but also you're enhancing immune response, plus the antioxidant activity. Ginkgo, because telomerase activity and those mice grew their brains 25%. Ginkgo not only has telomerase activity, but enhances circulation to the brain. I put purslane in there. Purslane has been shown to not only have telomerase activity, but also purslane is one of the richest sources of omega-3 fatty acids. What does that feed? Your brain and every cell of your body. The ability of the cell membranes at being able to good healthy fats to move nutrients in and out of the cell. And then the other things I added were because of the that bioelectric concept, trace amounts of calcium phosphate called Mincol, because calcium is needed for all electrical activity in the body is governed by calcium's ability to allow transfer of other minerals inside the cell. Mm-hmm. So trace amount of calcium, and then lemon. Lemon not only has a antioxidant activity, which has been shown beneficial for telomeres, but lemon also is anionic in nature, so it disperses you remember that commercial Dawn takes grease out of your way, that cationic grease clumping, one drop of Dawn, anionic surfactant, boom, chemically it disperses. That's what lemon does. It disperses. So I formulated this product, and because of my compounding pharmacy, literally right here, made capsules. I started taking them myself. I'm like, oh my God, do I really feel this way? So I started asking my clients, hey, you want to take something? They're like, you want me to be an experiment, Dr. Misak? I'm like, that's up to you. And everybody I gave it to is like, oh my God, can I have more of this stuff? Increased alertness, increased energy. I don't need to take my nap. I feel like my brain's working again. So that was the first thing we noted. In the meantime, we've had case reports of people saying, we've got our sex life back in our 70s. My hair's growing in dark. My thyroid condition is fixing itself. But we can't make any claims. Mm-hmm. All we're doing is giving a product that functionally supports the whole of how the body works with herbs that have anti-aging science behind them of telomerase activity, but we can't claim that it does that because we live in the United States. And my product has literally been put on a blacklist for advertising with Google, Facebook, and YouTube because they say that it's an experimental medical product. And who gives YouTube and Google the right to make that decision and not our FDA is my question. So I can't advertise my product because they've classified it as such, whereas in the meantime, I have at least a 65% reorder rate because people are being like, oh, my God, this is amazing on how they feel. So that's where we are.
So, okay, I think being a pharmacist would help you because you can see like the chemical structures and you got a doctorate in that crazy stuff. So when you combine all these things, how do you know they play nice with each other? How do we know that they don't block each other out or become some toxic mutant sludge?
Well, it's funny you say that because I used to do lectures on drug nutrient herbal interactions.
Which isn't much research, right? There's not a lot going on like, oh, if you take this, this happens.
You'll have people who throw out those concerns with certain herbs having toxic metabolites that can affect, or like St. John's wort will stimulate that cytochrome P450, right. So which is a primary antioxidant nature in all your cells. And if you're taking drugs that get metabolized that way, if you stimulate that enzyme, that drug's going to get eaten up quicker, so you'll lower the effectiveness of that drug, right? There's not a lot of – so basically it's okay for us to mix drugs and know that these interactions go together as long as you're being monitored. But how dare you consider taking herbs that can have multiple effects? But in general, how many times have you ever heard of somebody having an OD on any herb?
Well, true.
How many deaths occur per year from herbal overdose? I've never heard of any, actually.
Now, these things are studied, though, right? Like if you actually were to go into the research and be like, all right, what was it, Telomere? No, milk thistle. Milk thistle is Telomere, right?
Milk thistle,
yeah, we learned about that.
You can go in, even on Vitalometry's website, there's a link to external research that shows where these herbs have been studied to have telomerase activity, yet alone its effect on on the liver and protective effects of the liver and stuff like that with milk thistle, or stimulating circulation. And there's a lot of research on various herbs, but you'll find that they don't use that research from a medical perspective, right? You don't see it come together to say, hey, except in Germany, they have a German commission on monographs that shows the safety and effectiveness of certain herbal products in being used. And there's very little interaction data. So what you're looking for is that because ginkgo actually has a little bit of platelet inhibitory activity, probably a little bit less than like an aspirin. If somebody were taking or taking warfarin or taking Eliquis, which is a new blood thinner or something like that, the potential for taking something that could thin your blood says, hey, could I bleed more readily, right? From a medical perspective, they're going to say, oh, my God, stay away from it. But it's okay for you to take a baby aspirin every day because we know that interaction's okay. Whereas ginkgo, garlic, fish oils, CoQ10, all of those can inhibit a little bit of platelet activity, but not necessarily where it's going to cause bleeding. But it's something that if you're taking it, you should be aware that, hey, if I'm taking something that thins my blood and I add something that has a little bit of ginkgo, which in reality you could take up to 12 of these to get a maximum dose of ginkgo, right? And so you'll turn around and you just got to be aware from a pharmacy perspective, watch out for this. If you're bruising more readily, decrease your supplement that can possibly that can increase that potential for bruising, or check your blood levels of your INR or whatever and see if you need to reduce your medication. Make sense?
It's interesting. I think when your episode comes out, it'll be after this other guy who actually had a multi-level marketing, which I didn't really realize that whenever we were when I booked him, but he started talking about it. But it was also like telomeres and things like that, and it was a blue-green algae. But not really an algae, a cyanide or something?
Is wonderful, yeah. Yeah, blue-green algae is a good whole food product. Depending, Klamath Lake in Oregon, they used to collect it there, and there was a product I used to use called E3 Live. They do it, and they freeze it, and it around 2012 or 13, it was considered like the superfood. With all these great, it's a wonderful nutritional product, but again, being the doctor that I am, I'm not telling you take my product and it's going to fix everything, but my thing is there's a process, and I want people to learn the process of healing.
Are you teaching it like through a course where you pay $199 or $599 or whatever, or is it just through YouTube?
That's coming down the pipe. I'm finishing up a book right now. It's called Restorative Health by the Numbers. And it's like it basically is letting people know something that exists that people are not aware of.
Yeah, because people hear this, they might say, I'm curious, I want to know more information, but obviously I can't go to Pittsburgh. What do I do? They may want to reach out.
Go to Doc Misak, talk it out. I do consults all over the world. You need to learn how to test your own chemistry. And if you send me your chemistry values, your numbers, I'll tell you what to take and what to do. Based upon your height, your weight, your age, and you can adjust all that. So as long as you know what somebody's chemistry is, their height, their weight, their age, kind of what they do, and then you have them check basically usually your bricks and your urine pH, and you learn your patterns. When I eat, what happens to these values, and you get yourself into a healthy pattern by learning what to change. You can see so many disorders. I watch people's thyroids correct. I watch autoimmune conditions correct. I've seen cancers go away. But I can't sit here and claim that I'm treating any of that because I'm not. What I'm doing is supporting a process that'll naturally occur if you remove the obstacles to cure and you give the body what it needs.
It's two completely different topics, so we'll see which one you want to answer. One, if you're banned from advertising all this stuff, what are you doing to market? And then two, I've looked at before what Justin thinks people should have, and I was like, it could be kind of cool. You create your own vitamin mix and you can label it, and maybe you put it on Amazon, and all that kind of stuff. But then I was like, you look around and I was like, okay, there's certain websites where they compile all this stuff and then you just tell them what you want and how much you need. But then there's no really way to, fact check. Well, where did this come from? Is this organic? Is it any good? What's the standard of quality?
Quality sourcing.
Yeah, and then you start going, okay, there's a company here, there's a company here, and I'm like, well, wait, so I have to buy this from Germany, this from China, this from America, get them all shipped to one place, and then have some pill mixing company and all. I was like, Okay, this is a bit much. So what was your process, if you don't mind talking about? Because I'm sure you're not sitting here in your lab making 100 pills.
Well, first off is finding quality sources. When I did everything is finding a quality source. And then once you find a quality source, when you find a company that'll put it together for you, you tell them your sources and what standard you're having, organic or at least wild crafted and non-GMO or whatever, so, and the limit is on advertising. And how do I advertise? Is I advertise like this, is going out on doing YouTube shows, because even my YouTube shows are censored. I can't send out, YouTube doesn't allow me to notify my people that I'm going on the air. I do a show every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I teach people for free. And I have people from all over the world who will click in, but it's limited. And so people don't get their notifications. People go and share my channel and the links don't work.
Well, what's going on? What are you promoting that's so banned? Just naturopathic medicine?
How to be healthy. I'm promoting a system that you can do at home and you can restore your health and not that I'm going to make any money from it. If you buy your own equipment and you start testing yourself and you look at what I'm teaching you, like I had a guy who bought his equipment, he tested himself for about 4 months before he finally set up a consult. And then the amount of time that he was testing himself and doing what I taught him on the internet, he had lost over 30 pounds, his arthritic complaints went away, and his gout went away. But he still was having energy fluctuations because he still wasn't taking exactly what he needed. He got in a consult with me. We started looking at how to tweak what he was doing and where he wasn't fully figuring out. And in the meantime, he got better from all these chronic issues. Cholesterol came down to normal, all that stuff, just by understanding the principles of watching his own chemistry and learning how to take care of himself. So I'm teaching a way that anybody can be healthy.
So YouTube has like some guidelines, and this says, hey, if you talk about this or say these types of things,
you get what they call shadow banning.
Okay, so you chose topics that would get you shadow banned. Okay, and I guess if you just Google how to, that phrase in YouTube on Google, you could probably figure out like, okay, I need to stay away from these topics. Otherwise, yada yada.
And so my channel's shadow banned. So I have people who turn around and sign up to become a part of my channel, but they never get notifications that I'm live or on. And I don't know why, even if you choose that. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. I believe in a God who's in control and everything's done on timing. So I'm going to come out with a book and that's going to explain it. And also, one of the things that happened with my product is I had a 13-year-old purebred lab, and she started getting cataracts, arthritic complaints, losing bladder control, all these just getting, just a little bit of senile dementia from a dog standpoint. And so we were about ready to put her down, but before we did, I turned around and I mixed my product and I mixed it with some protein, or some collagen to help with her joints and stuff, and started sprinkling it on her food. And within a week, all of a sudden, she's wanting to play again. She lived to be over 15 years of age by taking my product, where I just mix it, take it home and sprinkle it over her food. And so now we're in the product of we formulated a pet product because I can at least advertise a pet product.
Hey, you know what? People love their pets. They will replace the dog's ACL, but they won't take care of their back pain, man. I tell you.
Exactly. So now I'm coming out with a pet product based on telomere activity and anti-aging, to turn back the clock, and so every dog that we've given to has been like amazing results. Ability to walk up and down stairs again. We have dogs acting like puppies again. I had a 15-year-old border collie that thought that she could start chasing cars again. So we're going to turn around and come out with a pet product. My goal is to be able to support an aspect of creating retreat centers where people can come find restorative health. We can teach them how to test. And you're asking, are you teaching $199 and doing classes? That's the goal, is to create enough cash flow to where I can free myself up instead of running a practice, running another business, running a nonprofit, and actually being able to go into teaching to where I can equip other people to take care of the business perspective, and then I can turn around and start teaching these to other people. So I can equip people like yourself these basic techniques of how you can understand and make an incredible impact on people's health.
That might be one way to do it too, because if you set up a web page that has the Kajabi, ClickFunnels or something like that, you can have an entire course where people just video 1, video 2, video 3, they pay some monthly membership or a one-time lifetime fee, and then they can then you could probably advertise
That's
it because
what
you're
we're
not
doing.
actually promoting a product. You're promoting
Right.
a system, and then usually you could probably get away with maybe a little bit more. But that's
Right.
a lot of legwork.
So right on docmisak.com, people can sign up for both an email notification and to sign up to get, to join my YouTube channel. But I always ask, if you give us an email, then we can contact you. Because if you don't give us an email, YouTube does not allow us to contact you.
Have you ever looked at Vimeo?
We have, but the thing is that it's such a growing thing. It's YouTube and Google control and Facebook literally control our social media. So they're the ones. Everybody else, yeah, it's like, oh, why are you going to that? These things are fine. They were, so most of the population is clueless, and they're like, yeah, this is cool, So they don't realize that what they're getting is censored information. That they're getting a dialogue that's been approved by the people who control our, the money in the world. If you really think about it in that.
I don't know about you, but I don't save my past viewing history on YouTube. I'm hoping somehow that affects my the algorithm. Because, you watch one not bad, but just a video that you were just interested in, all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to know more. That was just a one-time thing, YouTube. Please remove it from my history. It's so bad.
I don't know. I'm just trying to do something that's good to help people, and then and hopefully if I equip others, then that can start a chain reaction that we can actually have an impact of positive health on this world. In order to really change the health of this world, you got to go to agriculture. You got to change the quality of the food and make people aware of franken farming versus remineralized farming. We got to remineralize our soils so that our foods are providing the minerals of what we need. And it's called high bricks, HIGH bricks farming. High bricks farming. If people look into that, I think that they could learn a lot.
I had a guest, that same other one. I just edited his episode, so it's fresh on my mind. He is advocating a carnivore diet. Have you heard of that before?
I have, and I'm not going to advocate that at all. There is some attributes to where we need protein, but most people are not breaking down their proteins appropriately, and I can measure and show you how you are by when I run that urine and saliva testing.
I mean, you need vegetables and fruit.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, if you look at the blue zones, those people are living on glacial waters that are actually steam distilled, but going through volcanic rocks, so they're getting trace minerals, colloidal minerals through a purified water source, and they're eating massively root vegetable based diets, high amounts of sweet potatoes, and meat is a delicacy. When they actually kill something, they're eating very small amounts of meat and protein. They're getting most of their nutrients through. But I'm not sitting here saying that we should be vegetarian either. I do see some benefits for meat, but it depends. I'm telling you, metabolically, I can measure your metabolic activity by looking at your chemistry, and then it dictates, hey, you need a little bit of more protein with your meals. Start with a vegetable-based protein, and some people need complex proteins because their chemistry is moving so fast that slows the chemistry down for them. So I try to help people understand it from an aspect of speed versus a metabolic activity.
Well, because like Dr. Victor Longo, he has the fast mimicking diet and the prolone. I don't know if you've heard about that, but he studied a bunch of centurions and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of it was just very little meat, lots of vegetables, a certain amount of carbs and starches and things.
Pure water is huge.
Yeah, well, just all that cool stuff. Anyway, that's kind of what I like prescribe to. I don't necessarily follow it. But I advocate this is what you should do.
You know what? Seriously, I mean, if you go to a doctor who's 100 pounds overweight, you got to ask where you're getting your medical advice from.
Yeah.
I mean, I play ball with my kids and whatever, and
I know exactly what I'm doing in Germany.
I feel great, man. You should be healthy.
Yeah.
And so I have no quarrels sharing my age, and people are like, wow, you're 52. I'm like, yeah. And I go to church or something like that, and you look at most people who are your age and basketball belly, and they're storing that visceral adipose, which is hormonally active fat, because they're eating foods that are hormonally active and that are inappropriate, and their body can't process it. And so you got these men going through andropause, and you got these women going through menopause, and they're all blaming it on their hormones, which I just turn around and I explain it's a chemistry imbalance is what it is, And so if you really start understanding the principles of what I teach, and you just start applying the basics, it changes people's lives,
Last two questions. You got a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Thanks. One, do you have any other books or podcasts that you would recommend?
One that I want, if people really want to understand, there's a book out there, and it's a PDF form online for free called Choose Life or Death. It was by Dr. Carrie Reams, Reams, back in the 1970s. And Dr. Reams explained the concepts of Reams' biological theory of ionization. And if you want to get a basic understanding of how chemistry dictates everything, Reams explained health mathematically. And so you'll find online that there is a PDF version. If you type Choose Life or Death PDF, you'll find it. You can download it. Otherwise, it's hard to find because it's no longer in print. And you'll find paperbacks that used to cost $12, people trying to sell them for $300 because it's such a rare book. So one person posted it in a PDF form online. But Choose Life or Death is a great book for giving you an understanding of the energy perspective of what we are and how he explained health mathematically. And when you do, it'll make sense. I'm like, oh, my God. And what I've done is turned around and take a concept, what Reams taught, and try to put it in a practical nature of how you can do it. I'm this close. And what we're doing, if you go to my YouTube channel, Doc Misak, DOCMISAK, you will see these thumbnails of how I've turned around and I'm working with the person who helps me do the videos. Her name's Annie, and she's doing these graphic pictures of putting what I'm trying to teach as a global concept into a picture to make it so it makes sense to people.
That's important.
And so nobody's ever done that. And so that's where we're trying to get forward and just help people in that regard.
Okay. Last final question. I always ask this. Being business owners, it's difficult to take vacation. How do we do that? And as a follow-up, if you're married or whatever, how do you keep the love alive so you don't end up divorced and all that jazz?
Love is a choice in regards to – it's a sacrifice. Love never fails, and love is something that you have to give as well. And when you give, it's going to come back to you, right? And then as far as how do you take a business, and yeah, you're going to take a chunk of income loss, every day that I'm not here. So if you own your own business, when you go on vacation, have these super sales so you can sell a bunch of products that people want to take advantage of, and I do services. So we discount services that I don't have to be here. So let people come in and do the services for discounted rates and just get them in the door and sell them product at a discounted rate. So you can take a disc, not as much of a hit, but then you got to turn around and say, what's it worth? You have to have that balance, and making money is important, but at the same time, that aspects of vacation is equally, if not more important. So you can take time and recharge and reevaluate and know where you're coming from. So you got to find that balance and that self-awareness aspect of who you are, because if you just put everything into work, you're gonna go back one day and say, I wish I saw the Northern Lights. I wish I went to Ireland, or I wish I went to Iceland and saw the incredible aspects of, how just there's so many places, and so you if you don't take that step and you just put value in making money from day to day, then, and you got to.
And it's hard when you're not making enough. If you're struggling and 1 month is great, the next month is not so great, it's really hard because you can't do it. But if you have a steady income and you're like,
save your change in a jar and say, hey, oh my God, if I get that jar full, it's $2,000. That's that's my money to go on vacation. And you take it, as long as your business can float itself, then you're going to do okay. But we always have specials when I go away.
That's perfect. Well, Dr. Misak, I really appreciate your time. We've already got your YouTube. It'll be in the show notes link.
I thank you again. I could turn around and you go by doctor's perspective, or do you just go by Justin? What do you go by?
I mean, my name's Justin, but the show's a doctor's perspective.
Okay, so what we can do is we can do, if anybody goes to Vitalometry and through Doc Misak or whatever, let's make it Justin to make it easy. So if anybody uses a discount code Justin, JUSTIN, I'll give them 10% off, and that way I know that they watch your show. They can try my product, try Vitalometry out at a discount, and we do ship all over the world. So sometimes it's better if you're outside the country, to buy a larger amount because you're paying those crappy international shipping fees, But if they use the discount code Justin, we'll give them 10% off so they can try the product. And I just thank you for listening. Again, they can see either at vitalometry.com, they can find it, or if they go to docmisak.com, there's a link there. And when they go to the purchase, they can use the discount code Justin and enjoy the product. But otherwise, thank you. I had a great time, and I hope it was educational for anybody.
Very generous. Thanks again. Another great interview has ended. While you're on your phone, click that review button. Write up a nice review for me. 5 stars if you could. As everyone says in the industry, it'll help other people to find us when we have enough rankings. Not to mention, I'll mention you and your review on an upcoming episode. If you follow me at all on Instagram, you know you only get one link. So I use a Linktree. And so it's a doctorsperspective.net/links with an S. And that's going to give you everything you need to know. The top episodes of 2017 and 2018, the podiatry series, dentist, acupuncture series, holiday 2017, financial series, how to write a review, how to support the show like buying a cup of coffee, getting swag like t-shirts, the Today's Choices Tomorrow's Health book, that's the blueprints for better health, exercise, picking food correctly, and financial. And then of course, bundle packs, which can get you the no needle acupuncture book for 40 common conditions, including the electric acupuncture pin at a great deal. The resources page has some of the products that I like. It's affiliate style, so if you buy something from them, I get a piece of that. Just like on the show notes pages, if you buy a book from clicking that link, I get a small piece of that as well. So I really appreciate that. Things like Screencast-O-Matic, Pure VPN, Missing Letter, JLab speakers, Prolone Edge or Hawk grips. Once again, if you do need any coaching on how to improve some of your blood work, drop weight, and the Prolone diet, fast mimicking diet 5-day plan, let me know. As well as if you just need some coaching, whether it's health, whether it's marketing, whether you need some practice growth, etc. Reach out. Facebook, Justin Trosclair, MCC. Of course, out of doctorsperspective.net on the top right, you got all the social media icons that you can imagine. Click your favorite and reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please tell a friend, pass it along. You can go to .net/listen. It's just that easy. It'll open up right in your app. And don't forget, I appreciate you. Listen, critically think, and integrate. See you on the mini-sodes on Thursdays and Saturdays. Hope you're enjoying those. I'm definitely having fun summarizing these podcasts in less than 10 minutes for you. You get the nuggets without having to waste your time. Have a great week.
A doctor's perspective. Learn stories of success. Avoid struggles they've met. Doctors of all kinds come together to help you shine. So sit down